And we are live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for tonight's episode of Stranger Than Fiction. Welcome to RiceTVx. Tonight, I am joined by Darren and Jody from Divergence. And you heard that right. It's Divergence, not Dïevergent5. We'll talk about that. We're going to get the stream going for you. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. And here we go. Oh, wrong one. All righty, we're going to get this thing started for you. Going to bring on Darren and Jody in just a minute. I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. It helps other people to be able to see this information in the YouTube algo flow. Want to remind people to make sure you're following me on Odyssey and Library, where I have backups of all of my videos, and I post up extra content that is there as well. And I encourage you to check that out. It's the most decentralized content sharing platform out there. And make sure you're following me there just in case something ever happens to my YouTube channel. I also want to encourage people to check out my Patreon channel, where I post up exclusive content. You get early access to videos as well. And it's also a way to support the channel directly. I have 3 different tiers you can choose from, and I would appreciate all that support that you could give. I also want to let people know if you would like to tip or contribute, I do have my PayPal information, Cash App, and all that's going to be listed down below in the video description. If you'd like to tip crypto, I have my CoinTree address, which has a multitude of different cryptocurrencies. You can also tip and contribute via those methods as well. Also, in case you don't know, I am partnered up with Money Metals Exchange. And what does this mean? This means that you can get a free ½ ounce of silver. All you need to do is go to moneymetals.com, purchase $100 or more as a first-time customer, and use the promo code RICE. You'll get a free ½ ounce of silver, and it's a way to support the channel directly. And I believe it's for US. I'm not sure if any, I'll double check on the Canadian end to make sure that it's shipped to Canada, because I know we're going to have a lot of Canadians watching tonight, So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Real quick, just want to give a mention to everybody who's joining us in the chat. So we have Litecoin Lisa, Adam, thanks for tuning in. Marianne Smile, JVF Mastering, Frank Cervini, Kat Peterson. Thank you, Kat, for everything you do. Adventures We Trust, The Donnell State, Christian Crown, Tara Bespent, Satoshi Sean. What's going on, my brother? Much love. Ernest Elton, HQ2. We've got lots of people in the house. Henry Bob Schwillikers. Much love. I'm glad you made it, my friend. So tonight I am joined by Jody and Darren from Divergence. That is correct. Once again, it is Divergence. So let me get this thing looking a little bit better. How you guys doing tonight? I appreciate you joining me on RiceTVx. Welcome to Stranger Than Fiction. How's everything going, Mr. Darren and Mrs. Jody?
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Fantastic opportunity, my friend.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the conversation, and I feel like it's I know that you guys are very spiritual from listening to your content, and a lot of people I've been talking to recently are in that same boat, and I really have been feeling like my journey in this legal fiction, straw man, law stuff has been divinely led, and I feel like these moments were meant to happen. And we may have agreed on this in a previous lifetime or another dimension. Who knows? It's pretty wild.
Soul
but
contracts. That's what they call them.
What was that?
Soul contracts. That's what they call them.
Soul contracts. Yes, that's the term that I've heard people use quite often. And who knows? You know, I'm very open-minded. I'm an open-minded skeptic. I like factual evidence, and that's one of the things that I do appreciate too with what I'm finding from your guys' research. So I guess before we get into talking about Divergence and what you guys are doing currently, what I'd like to do is kind of get to know you guys a little bit. Sure. You said you're kind of familiar with what I'm doing with my content. I've gotten a little bit of who you guys are from watching some of the stuff on YouTube.
Sure.
But I guess in your words, would you mind just sharing who Jody is and who Darren is? And I guess we could start with ladies first.
Sure. Yeah.
For me, like you already picked up on, I definitely have a spiritual tone to me. I was raised in a very religious background, and I had, as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was disowned from that. So along that 24-year journey, I was able to really find myself and what I believed in and what resonated with me. And so, yes, I have a company of all things healing that I had before I started it with Darren. So it's all things woo-hoo, as I like to call it. But I like to teach meditation and full moon meditations, and just teaching people about energy and universal laws, so that they can really start to understand how what they think about they bring about, and how you're really responsible for your outside world. So that's what really kind of resonated, I think, a lot with Darren, and I'm so blessed that he believes in what it is that I do, because I'm able to really tap in and go and meditate, and I call them my spiritual team, that I'm able to kind of get some messages, and they've really been guiding us along this way, which has really helped accelerate our progress and our outreach. And that's what's been so nice about it. And then just to see the feedback from people that really resonate, not only with this information, but resonate with the spiritual side of it, which is really nice, because you can really see how they go hand in hand.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. You can't really have one without the other when you really, when you research this properly.
That's right. Yeah. So my brother and I, going back 10, 20 odd years plus, we ran into the tax collector essentially right out of high school when we started contracting to earn a living. And we came to realize, like, there's some powers that really needed to be addressed and identified and kind of unraveled, and to shed some light on really what's going on in the background here, that the layman or the average man or woman just has no idea about what's truly going on, and how rights and properties have been literally stripped from us at birth. And it took my brother and I, the better part of 20 years to truly come to appreciate and understand what has really transpired in the background. And keep in mind, friends, that the system, if you want to call it that, they have about a 2.5 or a 3 or 5,000 year head start on us. So they have really put a situation before us that really put us in the dark. We were really led astray. We had no comprehension of the moral issues that underline our poor choices and the results from those poor choices that would technically haunt us for the rest of our life. So when we were just addressing a spiritual component here, it is absolutely relevant, because when we are thrust into a world where we are misled, we are literally mentally abused, we are made to suffer. And it was all literally because we volunteered into this, because our parents and our grandparents and the generations before, they had no idea how to help us. So this is just a really uncanny series of events that have really unfolded in the last handful of years. My brother and I and a few others that really helped to catapult this truth movement, if you want to call it that, or a law movement, or a consciousness, or a greater awakening. The last handful of years has been just so spectacular to sit back and watch this. And what, gentlemen like yourself doing what you're doing here, again, just spurting that awareness, that appreciation for the truth that was buried and hidden from us. It is if anybody has watched any Indiana Jones movies, this is very reminiscent of going on that type of a journey to either find the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, or that type of reward. It's literally that spectacular. And again, I'm just blessed, and I feel very grateful to be a part of all this. Never mind being one of the leading guys at the tip of the spear to really kind of punch this through. And the self-sacrifice, I have never had a problem with that. Neither has Dean. We knew that we were meant to do something, let's call it special, or not normal, or not average. Again, when we started this stuff 20 years ago, people, loved ones would go to one of my brother's seminars, and after 2 or 3 days, they'd be more confused after the seminar than before the seminar. So again, and that was a language that nobody really understood back in the day. And now there's literally countless YouTube videos and tutorials and educational programs that are really shedding light on this. I don't want to call it a problem, but I want to call it, say, a situation that has led us to really want to seek the truth overall, just really put to bed, or put to rest, or settle some issues that have been haunting us. And again, this is where that spiritual component comes in, because you know what, without the love and grace and mercy of greater powers, I don't think we would have been able to pull this stuff off as far as we have, for as long as we have. So again, I appreciate, like Jody's influence and countless other light workers out there that, we literally feel their support and their love and their unconditional support, really. I feel that when I'm laying in bed at night sleeping. And again, from the responses, judging from people going back over the course of 20 years, when we touch the lives of other people and shake them and awaken them and help them realize and see the truth here before us, it's just an incredible feeling. I totally can appreciate now what, say the musicians or the rock stars or the movie people that have a greater influence on people, how that really affects your heart. And it puts a smile on your face. And you know what? Again, we're not doing this for money and fame. That's not what this is about. It's the greater enlightenment of mankind, womankind, and to move forward as a group of people who actually care about the planet, ourselves, the future, our children, all those fantastic things. There's nothing going to stop us. So here we are.
I love it.
You don't have to be spiritual to resonate with this information. We bring that element to it, but you just have to hear Darren talk about equity and what happened. And it's like you become awakened. Literally, there's little sparks that go off in you. And a lot of people have been saying that, going, I just get goosebumps listening to your stuff. Like I can't stop watching it. So again, that alone has an energy, right?
It's powerful. I mean, I've mentioned on some other shows of different people, just Romley Stewart from Justinian Deception talks about calling upon using the name, your Christian name, calling upon Christ, using Christ's name. And then we think of things that are prophetic about the dead being raised, as mentioned in Revelation. And that could just mean people coming out of the legal fiction and becoming the living man, living woman. So it's really powerful when you think about those aspects. Now, you mentioned Darren. I want to kind of highlight him for a second. I know, like, once we move forward, we're supposed to shed our surnames, but everybody knows him as Dean Clifford. And Dean is, from what I've understand, from me being somewhat new to the space, researching for heavily around a year time period, but looking into stuff previous to that, but there wasn't a lot of information to really look at. There wasn't much to go on. You run dead ends and I'd get distracted and not come back. Now there's plenty of information, and a lot of people have brought up Dean's name as being somebody who's taught them a wealth of information. So that's the one thing I want to highlight, is that, not only you mentioned going back up to 20 years with some of the things that you guys have been trying to experiment with, seeing what would work and what won't work. You have made an impact and you have kept at it. And where you have made mistakes, from what I'm understanding or comprehending, is that you're learning from those and progressing and moving forward.
Right. Absolutely.
And so what is Dean involved with Divergence at all? And if he's not, what is he up to?
He's a contributor in the background, whereas, when him and I are constantly seeking what the finish line is, and once you cross that finish line, we actually kind of have a proverbial a race between each other, for this whole a period of time. He's kind of pursued one slight direction, and I've kind of pursued a slightly different direction, just in case we did run into mistakes. We didn't want to be repeating mistakes. So we've always led this kind of a two-pronged approach where, he was experiencing remedies when I wasn't. And then there was a period of time where I was experiencing remedies and he wasn't. But again, it's that collective contribution of working together that really helped create a situation where we were both able to really learn, again, like you were just mentioning, from our mistakes, because this was literally a trial by fire. There is no master type document or master type little manual that's 25 pages long that tells you how to do this stuff A to Z, or steps 1, 2, 3.
Like that's all method.
There's really no method kind of really put into place for us to really grab a hold of and run with. As a matter of fact, from what I'm looking at now, we're literally surrounded by remedy, or we're literally drowning in remedy. Like there's a lot, there's all kinds of avenues or approaches that one can take to realize on this remedy. So there is no real one cut, dried way to do it. No,
that's what I wanted to ask you. And I'm glad that you said that. We got to highlight that there's not just one way. And if any of these groups are saying this is the only way and everybody else is wrong, then you need to question those people.
Absolutely.
Because I really feel like there's a lot of, I really feel like there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation being put out, and it may even be controlled opposition.
Yeah, I would completely concur with that, my friend. We've seen it over the years where lawyers and barristers and solicitors were actually shills and trolls trolling Dean and trying to just stir the pot and make us appear to be bad guys. And, you know, we're leading people down this untrodden path, and it's just going to result in jail and this, that, and the other. And like, okay, yeah, Dean and I did go to jail a number of times back in the day, but there was a reason we did that. And keep in mind, we did get ourselves out of jail most of those times. Dean did spend a total of 3 years in total in prison. But again, that was part and parcel because the system, or, you know, they were actually really trying to clamp down on the message that we were bringing.
Well, that's when they were I mean, that's kind of coming out of the tail end of the 90s sovereign citizen movement.
Yeah, that's right. And again, these are between sovereign citizen and free man on the land. Both of those terms were not coined by us. Those were labels that were essentially attached to us by the media. That was none of that was from our doing. And again, we do completely agree that those are both, you know, literally oxymorons, which makes sense. Obviously. Makes sense. Yeah, coming from the public sector, makes sense that they just kind of talk a lot of jargon, but you know, we just kept rolling with it and we didn't give up. And again, that perseverance from Dean especially really led people to be feeling empowered and feeling like they've been wronged, and they're seeking justice. And I know Dean brought a lot of energy, if you want to call it. He was mad a lot of times. Again, when we're seeing what the system is doing to people on a daily basis, you know, these judges that are literally destroying people's lives, you know, there's such a mess to clean up in the background. It really pushed us and prodded us to actually try to do something really that helped mankind here. That, again, above and beyond the average guy or the average woman would even consider doing. And again, it came with great cost. I mean, it cost us literally our entire family. They all basically disowned us, like Jody was mentioning there with hers. She went through a very similar situation. And as unfortunate as that is, I still wouldn't change a moment of that, because it has dramatically led to a series of events that have led us to right here today. And I so much more appreciate this larger family, if you will, the chosen family. You know,
I think you'll like where we're going to take the conversation after we talk a little bit more about divergence.
Sure,
because I think we're on par with a lot of things, and it's time to, you know, for us to start standing together and come together.
There you go.
So we're going to get to it now. Okay, actually, I'm assuming that you two are married together.
No,
you're not a couple.
No, yeah, we just have this fantastic
together.
Yeah, we just have this fantastic connection that I haven't really found in another woman.
You speak sarcasm in Canada too, I take it.
But no, we're again, we appreciate the connection, and I'm certainly working on bigger and better things, because I know an asset and a gift from God when I see one. And you know, when you're sitting beside it, it doesn't take, you know, a very smart man to figure out, you know, what should and shouldn't be done here. So
right on. And I know there's a lot of talk like where some people are getting rid of those certificates and things like that. So I just didn't know if I was assuming that you guys were together, and I just didn't want to assume without asking. So
no problem.
So what brought about, because I find it really cool that you guys are working together, especially you know, being together. So what brought you guys to want to do this, start a YouTube channel, get a website, which I'm going to do screen sharing here in a minute, and I'll have links down below for everything we're screen sharing. But what gave birth to this idea and you two collectively working together with it?
Sure.
Well, I actually had a girlfriend of mine move in to my house. I was helping her out with the situation, and she was actually taking on the school board. Her children were coming home with their hands just burned from all the chemicals that they were using, as far as the antibacterial gels. And so she was drafting up notices, and that's when she came across Darren's website, and Darren started helping her. And this is what Darren does. He has a community of people that he brings together, and he just helps them out of the kindness of his heart. And she was telling me about him. And then she started telling me about the birth certificates and equity and mortgages. And from the second I heard that, my whole body became electric. My girlfriend and I got in like a little tiff that night, because I was like, okay, you have to tell him I need to meet him. Like I want to talk to him, because I was doing interviews with people with my healing business, and I just wanted to get his information out. And she's like, look, I just met the guy. Like, I don't know. Like, and I'm like, look, you have to. I'm seeing all these soul contracts. Like, we have to get this information out. So needless to say, she went back with that same passion and told him about me and how I wanted to meet him. And 2 weeks later, she drove him back, and he was in my house. So I'm in my house coat and he comes up and I'm like, what? And so I'm like, well, I have to see if he's worthy to be on my YouTube channel. So I proceeded to interview him for the next 9 hours straight. And I was just so thirsty for this. It was unbelievable, Chris. I just could not get enough information. I was just question after question after question. And that's when we made an arrangement. I said, okay, I have skills for marketing and sales. And, I was kind of bred to be able to take someone like him and launch his idea. And so, yeah, we started a company and I said, look, I'll do this with you, but the deal is you need to show up. If I say, take this call, take this email, do this, do that, you have to let me just manage you so I can spread you out and get you out to the world instead of micromanaging one at a time. So he agreed. We made up a name. We started a website. People came and gathered together. I put out my feelers to my other light workers, to which they all stood up, helped us with the website, our forms. I mean, we really haven't had to pay for a whole lot of upgrades for our website and that kind of thing. But I mean, we do everything by donation as well. That was my other condition to start this business. We were not going to charge. It was going to be by donation. Some people can give, some can't. So then you're paying it forward with energy. We're not about the money. It's just about allowing the energy flow to go through. So it just all kind of clicked,
with the website, because I mean, you guys have, it's a pretty, there's a lot to the website from what I can tell. I mean, you have the social aspects, the groups, you have updates, you have the wisdom room. I've seen other groups with stuff not even looking as good as this, that say a lot of the stuff is costing them money and are pushing for the aspect of we need funds because all this stuff is costing us money. But you're saying this isn't really, aside from people's energy, it's not really costing it a lot to actually have this website. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's manageable for what we're doing,
like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
No, we haven't had to invest that much yet. But again, we've had people step up. We have three programmers right now that are working on this for us, all of which we have not paid. They have donated their time to us. So, that's what's nice about this. They resonate with this energy and then we help walk them through the process. So, but we actually personally handhold those ones. If they help us, we help them.
Yeah.
And how did you come up with the name Divergence? And because again, like I was telling you before, I really thought this was Dïevergent5, and I didn't count 5. I counted maybe 3 and maybe 4 if you count Dean. I wasn't. So I'm like, where's the 5 coming in? Is there like an invisible person? But Divergence makes sense.
Yeah. And again, we're just playing off the 5D realm. I mean, we're all trying to ascend. We're all destined to move up. So we're leaving a 3D world, if you want to, just refer to it as that, and we're leaving it and we're ascending to the 5D world. So the 5D world just essentially meaning that we're much more present in the moment. We're much more grounded in our feelings. We're much less susceptible or vulnerable to public influence and public policy. We're kind of just leaving that, and we're just moving on, just mainly through spirit, which is why Jody and her practice and the other light workers there, it is such a critical component to what we're doing here. And that's actually something that Dean and I kind of failed to really incorporate back 10, 15 years ago, because we didn't quite back then understand the spiritual battle that really was laid before us, but we certainly have our heads wrapped around that one now. And yeah, you're suggesting the website. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot to it. I mean, I'm not the tech guy. I'm certainly not the one to answer this.
I'm trying to make a point because I know that there's not a lot of cost involved with a lot of these things, unless you want to like have an application and you're paying for some service to it.
Sure.
And you got to have X number of users. And just because, again, I'm finding that I feel like there's some people in the movement who are definitely trying to bring the movement down. And part of the stuff that we'll talk about here in just a few is kind of going into that. With the stuff that you're teaching now on your YouTube channel, which I definitely encourage people to make sure that they're checking out and subscribing to your YouTube channel. I'd like to be able to get the numbers up as much as possible. I'm subscribed on both of my accounts. I'm using another web browser, which I don't have logged into, so it doesn't show subscribed, but I'd like to get these numbers up. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed to that Divergence YouTube channel, make sure you're checking it out. Links are down below, and also signing up for their website as well. I became a member. I'm not very active because I've just started using it, but I'm a part of it. Sure. And I'm looking forward to learning more. So with what you're teaching, are you finding that talking about this information publicly and not doing it in a private manner could cause you any issues? And are you only saying so much publicly, and then you do more behind the scenes privately, and you're able to talk about a little bit more information more freely than what you do currently?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, let's just say I'm letting 98% of it rip, just unredacted, just put it out there. I'm not concerned with the public-private construct anymore. Why? Because there are so many people that are not meant to hear this. There are so many people out there that will just not even give this regard at all, because we're finding for those that are interested, even they have such I don't want to say a difficult time, but a challenge of getting to a point where they can actually start to experience some remedy. So yes, this is not meant for everybody. As a matter of fact, no, it's not. And out of the 98% that I do put out there, I might keep 1% in the background just to fill in some final little dots for people on a personal level. But no, for the most part, Chris, I'm just letting it rip. For 20 years, we've been shy. We've been, walking around on eggshells, not wanting to disclose all this stuff. But you know what? The timing of the world events right now, it has really pushed me to just not care. If anything bad comes down the pipe and affects me, I will deal with that, because it's more important that we get the message out there so that everybody else has a fighting chance. And I would gladly sacrifice everything I have just to give a brother or a sister or a neighbor a fighting chance. And that's kind of what Dean and I were sent here to do. And we've actually held pretty strong to that. We haven't varied. We haven't wavered, despite the suffering and some of the hardships. We just blew right through all of that. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what's really empowering other people and is so inspiring to other people, is like, if these guys can do it, I want to try too.
And that's what's nice about it too, Chris, is that he's actually holding himself back from putting in all of his paperwork. So he's actually behind us in the whole process. He's pushing me and Tamara through right now. And that just goes a complete testament to his character and the type of person he is. He doesn't want to have a gag order. He doesn't want to have to be, quieted.
That's what I was going to talk about. That was the next.
Yeah.
It's like we're right on each other's.
Yeah.
Because I have heard things being said about NDAs and not being able to speak about this information publicly if you follow these methods correctly. And let's just, if it's a game and you won the game, you got to the finish line, it's like, okay, you won, but you can't tell anybody.
Yeah,
see,
exactly.
But now, when that situation, do you know anybody that's happened to?
Well, I mean, Dean and I have on good authority that we know of 2 or 3 or 4 people that technically have gone through. They have reached the place of safety. They have tapped into their treasury accounts. They no longer pay taxes as we know it. They are now assets of, according to the Crown. They're no longer liabilities. They're leading an entirely different life. The government has literally stepped in and provided funding or financing for the use of property, whether it's houses, cars, boats, helicopters. None of that mattered. But this is, to play off your statement there is an uncanny silence that goes with all of these people, and it is enough to make me believe that there is a strong possibility that there are NDAs waiting for us there. I don't want to take.
In theory, though, you get to the finish line. Who says you have to sign the NDA? And if you don't, then what? Because you won the race, right?
Yeah, and I think this is where they don't want us bringing private and public in now. Once you do get to the finish line and you do have the absolute proof, now they're going to ask you to not share, to not disclose it, for fear of it's going to let unmoral or dark entities, people to come through the system and bring their filthy ways with them into what's literally described as a clean system. So there should be.
You really can't avoid that technically if we're trying to be fair and equal.
I know. Yeah.
And that's where we have to just let the energies that be take over that, because again, this is 5D energy. 3D energy, we've even seen it in examples of people trying to get through the system. They get blocked. Their information doesn't get through, their paperwork comes back, whatever the case, it makes you rise to it. So we're not even worried about the filth coming in, because I think the universe has got that for us.
Sure.
I appreciate you guys being transparent, because I was curious about when I'm starting to look a little bit more and get away from the common law aspect and look more into the trust and equity side. I'm seeing everything become private. I'm seeing these PCAs, these PMAs, private member associations, private contract associations, and it's and you can't. And a lot of these individuals are saying you cannot talk about this stuff publicly, but you are. So that's why I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I mean,
you seem very on par with how I would be. So
sure.
I'm just trying to get a better, clear comprehension as to who this rebel is.
Yeah, and I mean, so like this is kind of how I'm approaching it, and Dean is included here. As we bring loved ones through, when they experience the success, that is proof positive that this is working. Now, if they are going to have to agree to a non-disclosure agreement, fine, and let them do that, and then they can go on their way and live the life that they have always dreamed of. But I just elect, or I choose to just stay in the background, keep continually putting people through, even at the sacrifice of my own access to my own treasury account, because I'm talking too much and they don't want to give me the final pieces, because they know I'm going to go on YouTube and Facebook and talk about it, and our Divergence platform and talk about it. But you know what, again, I would gladly sacrifice my own just so that everybody else can have a chance. And to me, that's just a no-brainer. I wouldn't think twice about that.
In your method, is the status and the trust hand in hand coinciding, or can you do the status, correct your status and that in first and take care of that, and then look into the trust aspect?
Trust, yeah. As a matter of fact, Chris, the process of creating the trust is actually what establishes your status and your standing. So the trust actually kind of happens first, and the immediate result is a whole new position for you to enjoy. It's
so
literally,
you go hand in hand.
And then you go ahead now you're going to go and you're going to either go to court, get a judge to approve what you're doing, or go to land titles and get some output from land titles or the county recorder's office, so that you can at least have some paperwork or some documentation to facilitate your direction and where you're going. So there are a lot of components to this. I know we are trying to fine tune and whittle this down to make it more simple, more simplified and more digestible for people that are coming down the chute here, trying to do all this stuff. Because again, I know what Dean and I and a handful of others here have gone through to experience the results that we have, and I would not wish that burden on anybody. No, right. I'm here to trim 98% of the fat and give the people just the raw substance that's needed, a little bit of training, a little bit of background in jurisprudence and equity principles, and then set them on their way. It's actually easier than we think. And this is where all the individuals and light workers that have been following common law and studying common law, based on some of the evidences that Dean and I were putting out 10, 15 years ago, all these people will be fantastic once they kind of grasp the severity or the critical nature of where equity gets injected into this. Those people will instantly just hold on to equity, love equity, kind of abandon where they were headed with the common law, and we will instantly have another army of light workers pushing this momentum forward. And that's why this isn't going to fail. This is literally prophesized in scripture. So we are absolutely on the right track.
Okay, so now let's kind of lead in a little bit to kind of some of the stuff that I'm working on in the background and trying to do. And when I say I'm not meaning as like an ego thing, me. It's just something that I'm trying to help get the ball rolling on. Forming an alliance amongst all these different groups.
Yes.
A big umbrella for everybody to be under, to be on the same page, to have each other's backs, to take some of these intelligent individuals and let's have these town hall conversations, find out what works and what doesn't work, and how we can try to make these methods as universal as possible for all the different nations and however that works. Because I know that a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, especially in the birthright and equity video,
yes,
is mainly going towards Canada and British territories,
sure,
UK based. So the US has its own way of doing this. And so that's where it would be kind of cool to not only have people involved in divergence that are working on things with the United States and all these other different nations, but bringing together, like I've talked to a gentleman named KL who I've interviewed, who I'll talk to you about some stuff on a personal call.
Sure.
He's interested. He's studying trust and equity. He does a lot of stuff in the private. There's another gentleman who I've talked to who's been on my show just recently. His name is Robert Michael from REM Private Management, House of Marcus. Same deal. I'm going to be interviewing Cal Washington from Empower Movement. Going to invite him. Alphonse Fagiolo in New Jersey. I'm going to invite him. He's another person who's big into the law aspects, affidavits. I'm going to try to bring together some of these people and form this alliance, and then what I want to do to start weeding out this controlled opposition, misinformation, disinformation is invite, once, because you guys don't seem to be very egotistical. The problem I'm finding in a lot of these other groups, though, is there's a lot of ego. I'm not going to mention groups' names, but there's leaders, there's DNA, there's all kinds of weird things. There's something that makes one person special.
Yeah.
I like the idea of decentralizing the power.
Yeah.
And this kind of alliance will also allow us to check and balance each other.
Absolutely. And
that's we're all in check.
Yeah. And that's actually, Chris, the primary function of what the Divergence platform is ultimately built to do, to service exactly what you just mentioned there. All these light workers and truth seekers. The Divergence platform is essentially, we're building an entity that could replace Facebook for people without all the censorship, without the 5,000 friend limit, without all the crap that Facebook brings. So the umbrella that you had mentioned, absolutely, that was my core vision, our core vision, to supply, and again, bring all these major contributors, or if you want to call them the heavy hitters, or the ones with a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, bring them under this one umbrella like you're talking about. And we're hoping that Divergence basically morphs into that umbrella where you have all these factions that come together, just like in the movie where we kind of got the name Divergence from. We're all going to come together, and this one platform should be the hub, the cog for all the knowledge and wisdom that can be just easily disseminated through the people, without the redacting, without the lies and the deceit, and the, hey, pay me $5,000 before I give you the final component to, no.
Yeah.
We want to get rid of all of that and just bring everybody together as a collective, because we know how powerful that's going to be. And this is what the dark entities fear the most. So,
and I think too, by us coming together like this and then starting to invite some of these individuals that are known for being a little bit controlling or not working well with others.
Sure.
The ultimate deal with this is you're a part of the solution or you're a part of the problem. So if you're not going to come to the table,
yeah, exactly,
then you're kind of putting yourself in a position. So, and I don't want this, it doesn't detract from what each faction might want to do, or each group, because I realized that there's not really too much of us getting away from our tribalism.
No.
You're gonna always flock to similar types and things like that. It's not really much of avoiding that until we progress as a species and evolve a little bit more.
That's
we
right.
can start thinking about something different. But until then, we're definitely going to be very tribal. But at the same time, like when you think about Native Americans, there was a point that brought some of these tribes together, and they had tribal councils.
Sure.
So that's kind of, in a sense,
the
idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So cool. So you guys are down for that. So
yep. Sign us up.
I've got a trip next week. I'm visiting Kim Gogan from Life Force. Kim Possible. Not sure if you're familiar with her.
Yep, I've heard the name. Yep.
Going out to get some clarity.
Okay.
Coming back on April 1st. So hopefully someone doesn't look like a fool, because I'm going out there looking for answers. Looking for clarity for some things that have been said. And essentially, invite the entirety of the group to the table. Another individual I'm going to talk to is like Ammon Bundy. He's got an organization called peoplesrights.org, and it's just a network, just literally just networking people up.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything involved for Canada. I think it's all United States. So there's ways to incorporate that into Canada and expanding out the base and connecting up all the different people in the different provinces with their people in their local area.
Yep.
Because ultimately what I've come to the conclusion of, real simple, but it's kind of hard to get to this point. But when enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're at with that. Trying to think, I guess what we could do, because I've covered a lot of what I wanted to do with the initial conversation. I'm going to go ahead and Robert Michael from REM Private Management's in the house, and he says that, we're in perfect alignment with Darren, and it's going to be great to work together. So I think you guys will also really enjoy each other. And the good thing is, like, because I can tell you're like this because you're learning from mistakes.
Yep.
And don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think anybody has everything 100% right. So the more of us that can come together to fill in those blanks, to bring a different puzzle piece to it, to where we can actually put the puzzle together.
Yes.
That's the goal.
First and foremost, that's all we're really striving to do, is just create that awareness, touch as many people, and affect as many consciousnesses out there that we can, and just bring people together. But again, it's not just bringing the people together, it's providing a mechanism, or providing an environment where they can come to something, feel like they're a part of something, feel like they can actually contribute to something, feel like they can leave, the office at the end of the day, and while they're driving home, they're just on it. It doesn't shut off. Once you jump in, you can't really jump out again. It grabs you, it holds on to you, it loves you, you love it back, and the energy that's created through all this awareness cannot be quantified. It's just literally that off the chart.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you, and you kind of already answered the question for me, but I want to bring it up because I think it makes a lot of sense to people who watch what I do. In looking into this whole sovereignty, legal fiction, and ways to be able to take dominion, get out of the jurisdiction, and take the control that you're supposed to have away from the governments and such.
Yeah.
When like my purpose with this is not about the trust and the monetary aspect. It's more about the freedom and getting away from that control, so that if something comes down the line with these vaccinations, I could say no and be able to know that I can stand, and my no means something. Right. And the trust to me was like the icing on the cake. And I always like to say I can eat the cake without the icing. I like the icing, but I can eat it without. But what I'm gathering from you is you're going to get your cake and your icing doing it in this method and under your method.
Yeah, and you get to eat it too.
Yeah, you get all of it. And again, we were led to believe that was an impossibility. So don't even bother trying. So we were defeated right out of the gate when we were very little or young, to not aspire to be all these great amazing things. Or if you are going to dream, you're only allowed to dream within the confines of these public acts and statutes. Go ahead, knock yourself out. So again, we felt that prison, we felt that matrix, when we were very young, and some of us just kind of accepted that and moved along with it. And others said, no, that's not going to fly for me. And then we had to lead this life of adversity and challenge and hardship. But, it was all for a purpose. And again, us coming together now, that's first and foremost. And again, that umbrella, that connective source that we can all share between each other, that's where the love flows. And that's where we become unstoppable. Like you're suggesting, in numbers and with collective wisdom, absolutely, we are unstoppable.
Knowledge and wisdom is key.
Absolutely. Sure key. Yeah, sure is. So when you're mentioning our friend there about perfect alignment, that's a very good way to describe what we are actually doing to the birth certificate. It came to us incomplete. It came to us imperfect. It came to us naked. We had to do something to it. So the perfect alignment is actually perfecting that birth certificate, perfecting our interest in it. And part of that perfection process is actually getting rid of it, not being in possession of it. That is one of the critical components that Dean and I had missed years ago. We have one of two things. We have possession or we have control. So they made sure that we were put into possession of this thing so that we waived our control. We gave our control to them the moment we accepted possession. It's a dirty little it's a dirty little sneak attack on us there.
Conundrum, that's one of my favorite words. Because it's really what it is. It's a puzzle. Yeah. It's a puzzle that you got to figure out.
It's.
What about Dean? Do you think he would be interested in coming to the table for something like this with other? And I'm talking about also. Oh yeah. I'm going to invite David Straight, Carl Lentz. Sure. Christopher James from A Warrior Calls, if he ever wants to respond to emails or text, I'm going to invite him.
Sure.
Anybody who's in the same boat that wants to work together. But
I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking of 10 or 12 or 20 of the world's best sitting down and just hammering stuff for a 4-hour segment of that stuff. Like
imagine.
That would literally be bigger than any of the UFC events that have gone down.
It's going to happen. So here's the thing that we'll all need to discuss based off everybody who's involved is, are we going to allow for these things to be live, recorded? Are they going to be private and we just share the information with our audiences? Yep. So we've got to figure out what to do because I don't want to put any of us into any situations where it's going to cause any jeopardy for what we're trying to accomplish.
So. Yeah, and I mean, and to be honest with you, I mean, would Dean be in? What would he show interest in this? Yeah, absolutely. Again,
well, a lot of these people too, man. Like your brother doesn't. He may not even realize how much of an impact he's made on a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, it's
him coming to the table would carry a lot of weight.
Yeah.
With with some of these other OGs when it comes to like your Anna von Reitzes, your Tom Goulds, and your T-Row people, and just all these different other OG groups, you know, because he has actually done where a lot of people talk the talk.
Yep.
He's one of those people who actually walk the walk.
Yeah. And he's got more experience than just about anybody.
I know you did too, though. I know you did too, but you're not as known as your brother.
Yeah, and we actually kind of structured that on purpose when we first started doing this stuff. And again, Dean and I were doing this stuff for 10 and 15 years before he went public with his YouTube videos. That's where all the knowledge and the wisdom and all the language came from. Because I remember it back in the day, people were saying, "Oh my God, where did you guys learn all this stuff?" And I said, "Well, again, we've been studying this for a long time just to get to this level." So, would he be interested in coming out and laying down some serious stuff? Yeah, absolutely. And again,
anybody that you think that would be a good candidate that's not going to come in and try to take over and become, I don't want anybody to come into this thinking that they're going to lead everyone else. No, this is a decentralization. This is us dividing up. If it's a council, everybody has equals in the situation. So I just think it's stuff that I think a lot of people have been clinging for, but not knowing.
Yeah.
So, that's right. and I really have been, with all the people I've been talking to, I'm starting to sift through like the ones that really want to make an actual difference and make an actual positive impact and actually walk the walk.
Yeah. Humbling ourselves in the presence of other greatness. Call it that. I mean, I always show respect and dignity to others who have invested time and energy into this, because again, we do know how hard this is. And again, it's just nothing but hats off from me to anybody else who is taking on this journey, because it is a labor of love and it's not meant for everybody, because it's not easy. It's designed to be not easy, because again, the road is narrow and it's straight and very few shall find it. So
if this really is the narrow path, that's really going to blow me away with a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I would have put like it's kind of like living a life of a monk is the narrow path, but becoming a living man.
Sure.
So and I mean, obviously we have a ton to learn. I want to highlight a friend of mine who has no clue what we're talking about. McLovin. I'm involved in crypto space, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and but he said that he's wanting to know this knowledge. So McLovin, hit me up tomorrow. So let's talk, and I'll try to school you about. I'll try to cram as much down your brain as I can, and I'll send you some links to some stuff I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a big topic on my channel for quite some time. The legal fiction is just evolving because I'm organically learning as much as possible.
Sure.
And a lot of the times the conversations, if I watched everything that you put out, there really wouldn't be a whole lot of reason to interview you. It wouldn't be a very long interview.
Sure.
I pretty much would have had the answers to the questions I had.
Yeah.
But I like the organicness. I wanted to get to know you guys. I like kind of like that flow. And so I do appreciate your time. And if you guys are good on time, like maybe for another 10 or 15 minutes, I can open it up to see if anybody wants to ask any questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Darren's favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I always get pissed when I get cut off. I always want to be answering questions, or my time is being managed now and I can't do it the way I used to do it, because again, putting out the little fires, now I got to concentrate on the forest fires. So it's all going to work out though. It's all going to work.
Well, too, you got to think about this. This is another good factor about this alliance thing too, is that I'm sure you're getting more people than you can handle right now.
Yeah.
So the more of us that are working together, the more that we can help more people collectively. If people are going in this with the mindset of I don't have to necessarily do this for the monetary gain. Because if you're doing it for the right reasons, it's going to work itself out.
That's right. Yep. Yep. And again, like you were mentioning there, just the freedom component, to be able to travel freely, to be unhindered, to be undetained, to be unarrestable, all those factors. Man, I laid in bed for, 12 years straight every night wondering, is this the night they're going to kick the door in and come take us away? So there's a little bit of PTSD associated with that, where, finally, now that we're finally experiencing some remedy and we're finally being able to get some acknowledgement back from the courts and the system itself, there's been a decompression go down now where we can actually breathe again, where we feel like we're actually not drowning, we're making progress, and others are making progress, and other groups of multitudes of people, even though their system may be slightly varied, or might be slightly varied, they are still experiencing some fruits and some positive feedback. And that just feeds the fire. It fuels the desire. And, we're not going to retire.
I love it. I wanted to highlight this comment. So I was saying something about no Anna. Anna, I'm assuming that's Anna von Wright. And she would definitely be more than welcome to come to the table. She's awesome. One of those people that I want to have a core group because she has very expressly said to me several times that her way is the way. And she's not very open to a lot of other people's ways. So it would also have to mean that Anna would have to change a little bit of her mindset. So hopefully spirit moves in good ways. Because Anna is somebody that I would put in a category as your brother.
Yeah. And I've had several communications with Anna in the past. And again, when you divulge or you commit so much time and energy to a particular path, you literally get those tunnel vision glasses, and it does become very centered. It does become very focused, and we do sometimes lose sight from the peripherals here of other qualities that we might just overlook. And I constantly remind myself to stay teachable, to stay open, to stay present in the moment and open to fresh ideas, because there is so much volume out there that they've spent time hiding. There is so many layers to this cake. There's so much going on. Again, I firmly believe that this was beyond the capability of a single man or woman. I'm a walking testament to that, because Dean and I have been doing it for the better part of our adult lives, and we have, I would like to say, a good understanding or a good grasp of what's going on. But do we have it all? Nope. Every day we make progress, and that excites me. Every day I go looking, or I find a little tidbits here and there, and so do all the others. And when they actually see some of the fruits that are coming down the pipe from, say, our endeavors, they're thinking, oh, we see it in the comments. Oh my God, I've been studying this stuff for 15 years, and the little bit of evidences and the little bit of system and the procedures that you're bringing to the table now clarifies and brings answer and closure to a whole bunch of stuff that I hit the wall. I couldn't get past it, and I basically abandoned it. It got set aside and the energy faded. And that's one thing I really want to do now, is get that energy fired back up again and get that passion going, because that's what's going to make us unstoppable again. We're here to win this. We're not here to lose.
I feel you. Yeah. Somebody's asking what's an OG, and it's just basically something that people would call an original gangster. So when you look at what these are, people who have been in this movement before what we're a part of this movement. Yeah. So somebody whose reputation preceded before now. So it's just trying to clarify for a couple of people.
Yeah.
Let me see now. See if there's any questions. Ken Cousins would be somebody who I would invite as well, but Ken Cousins would be in the same category.
Yeah. Same scenario there as Anna. I've had several correspondences with Ken, and again, another fantastic individual, massive contributor, a guy who deserves a lot of props and respects. All those major heavy hitters who've been so engulfed in trying to find these truths to help other people. I have nothing but admiration and respect for all of these people.
And that's where I think everybody could benefit from a joining of forces and coming together, a town hall, a mastermind group. Because ultimately everybody has the same goal. And that's been my biggest argument, is why are none of these groups working together, especially when people are trying to do the same thing or similar things. And the United States obviously is going to have a different way of doing things in the other territories. But there are so many different groups trying to reform the Republic of the United States. I'm like, how many different reformed republics can there be? How many different presidents, commander-in-chiefs, and all these different positions can there be? How many different state assemblies can there be?
Yeah. And really on the surface, we're not even concerned with that, because the private citizens are actually the ones who control the public elected figures in the foreground. I have an article, maybe I'll post it here a little bit later, where Jimmy Carter is talking about back in the day when he was the commander in chief, when he was in negotiations and talks with North Korea. The article goes on to read, when I and my contingency were dealing with North Korean leaders, its private citizens and government officials. And I saw, as soon as I saw private citizens there, it's like, oh my God, there it is right there. Jimmy Carter talking about the private citizens who actually are the de jure government in the background, who wind up literally controlling that de facto government in the public. Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, I was telling my girl about it today, I've heard the term just private, not just necessarily private citizen, but just a lot of things being kept in the private. And I have heard the private citizen. My dad did construction and worked in Northern Virginia, where there's a lot of military high level clearance and things like that. So a lot of those kind of things came up.
Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, I remember hearing Lindsey Graham speaking about President Trump just about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, where Lindsey Graham literally said President Trump as a private citizen, and then goes on to finish that sentence. It's like, well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, that's why when you, if what people are saying and speculating is true about, let's say, the Clintons, the reason there hasn't been anything done is because if you are a private citizen and you've committed a crime, in order to charge you with that crime, from my comprehension, is they have to have irrefutable 100% proof that you've done it before they even bring charges on you, because it's not one of those situations where you just got to have the proof. And obviously, if no charges have been brought upon anybody, then it makes you question things. So it's because the idea of like some of the things that you would achieve doing some of the methods that you're teaching and other people is you would have some sort of diplomatic immunity, which would essentially put you above the law.
Absolutely,
unless you caused harm.
That's right.
You can't go around murdering people and wrecking your car into other people's vehicles and expect to have sovereignty.
That's correct. Yeah. Do no harm unto others. I mean, that's a fundamental maxim of what we're doing here. So you're completely on point there with that one. Yep.
Natural law.
Yep.
Cool. Well, it doesn't really look like there's a whole lot of questions. So I guess what we'll do is we'll get ready to wrap things up here in a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some time on Wednesday. I'd like to reach out to you Wednesday and talk to you about planning on some of these things.
Sure.
And maybe we can start some of these conversations, smaller groups behind the scenes, as we're starting to invite more people in.
Sure.
So I'm really glad we had this conversation. I want to encourage people to make sure that they're checking out your YouTube channel. They're checking out Divergence.com. I wanted to say Dïevergent5. Since you had the DI, it looks like DI5, so it's DIS. What is DIS?
Yeah, it's well, that still represents
DI5.
DI5, or like the 5D world, or it's still
so the DI and then the 5 at the end.
Yeah.
Because we truly believe that you have to kind of die literally to come back to life in 5D.
It's kind of the idea of what's the word when you're a baptism.
Yeah, it literally is. And just a segue off that one, Chris, again, the Queen Elizabeth's speech, 1953, about in the middle of her speech, she goes on to say, I acknowledge and accept one baptism for the remission of sin, and I am looking for the resurrection of the dead. That statement blows me away. Why is she looking for the resurrection of the dead? Because she knows what we volunteered into, and she's just sitting back twiddling her thumbs, waiting for us to come forward.
And it's not adversarial. They don't want to cause you any issues when you come forward. If you do it the correct way, in honor, in correct knowledge, in correct wisdom, then they have to accept it.
Yes, absolutely. It's
that's
beautiful.
How the system works.
Yes.
Even though they might be evil sons of biatches, they still have to accept the honor, right? They still have to.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I mean, the Jesuits, I mean, they're a large faction in the background that's really one of the controlling interests, if not the controlling interest. And even with the dubious things that they do, they still basically adhere to the principles of equity. They just rely on our ignorance of it to essentially ensnare ourselves because of our lack of wisdom. So they're actually not breaking any rules. They're just kind of encouraging us to break rules so that they can punish us. And it's kind of a double-edged sword, because what it's doing is, we're suffering, but it's actually pushing us to the light. It's pushing us to seek salvation and redemption. And without that push, we as lazy people, maybe we would never have gotten on that straight and narrow path. And maybe we never would have ascended if we weren't chased with that iron rod and the lash and taxation. So I'm actually grateful for all these pitfalls and all these speed bumps and all these adversarial, tough situations. I appreciate all of it. And again, I actually wouldn't change a moment of it if I could.
I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to have links down below for the Divergence.com website, the YouTube channel, and I encourage people to make sure they're going and subscribing, and also the Facebook group as well. Real quick, I wanted to go back. I'm trying to go back between screens because of how I'm doing screen shares. Somebody sent, Crypto Entrepreneur sent me a couple super chats, which I thought were turned off. So, but I wanted to highlight, he said, first off, thanks for your desire to bring everyone together. It's exciting. Just remember that this information is not for everyone. Everyone is at a level. Hold on.
Yeah.
The next one he said was, and everyone transcends at their scheduled time. If someone is not ready, their head will explode. Love you, bro. This is a life journey. And I want to highlight this because you guys talk about this too. Not everybody is ready for this, but there are a lot of people who are ready.
Yes.
And for those of us who are ready, who want to do this, we're going to be there for those who are ready when they're ready.
Yes. And
But
that's
if you don't have like people ready when those people are ready, it's going to make it harder for those people when they're actually ready.
Sure.
If that makes any of that made sense.
Absolutely. Which is why, all these hardcore veterans that have been studying common law for so long, again, once they kind of make that jump to understanding and appreciating what equity truly is, there is a massive layer of teachers waiting right there that can accommodate the second wave of newcomers to just fall in love with this information, provided in a method and in an approach that's digestible, and it is effective. It doesn't need to be 400 pages long, and we can condense it and simplify it and work together. And we're going to get there. There's nothing going to stop us. Nope.
And Chris, talking about masterminds, for if any of those gentlemen want to come together, tomorrow we're actually hosting a Q&A for the advanced loved ones. So people that have a really good understanding of equity, they're going to have a chance just to fire away at Darren. We did a newbie section for people that were just having a first introduction to it, but this is going to be cranked right up to a whole nother level. So, we welcome that.
I know that you normally post this like on Facebook. Are you posting links for these for these things on the actual divergence.com website?
Yes.
So
I post it online all the time. So if anything, come follow me and you'll see it.
Yeah, I think we're doing.
People find that kind of information on the Divergence website.
On our social wall.
Events.
On our social wall, and if they go under and find me as a member, so Jody Lynn, then all of our postings are up there. Everything that we do is, I make sure I put it up.
Yeah, and we're becoming more prolific now with putting all these events onto BitChute and Parler and Facebook and YouTube. We're trying to expand the reach here a little bit now that the platform is a little bit up and running a little bit better without so many bugs, and we're finally in a position to provide a service. And again, this is where the Divergence platform is going to outshine Facebook in every level. Why? Because the platform is actually going to teach you something. Just by signing up, you're going to be benefiting from our work, our efforts in the background. Whereas, what does Facebook provide you? Like, really, what does it do? Other than that connective hub, which Divergence will also do. But now we're actually going to teach you how to perfect some stuff and change your freaking life. Now, Facebook doesn't do that. So,
and we have people that have started groups for people, and they're already, taking our documents, converting them over or translating them, and then actually uploading them up onto the site under that group. So a lot of people collaborating, coming together. It's beautiful to see it. We've introduced some team leads into some of the groups so that they can really handle that for us while we kind of, get the forms and do the process, behind the scenes. So it's just been wonderful to see people come together.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring the mood down, but there's a guy who mentioned something. He's been a long time watcher of the channel, and just mentioned that his son died from a meth overdose. So I just wanted to send some positive energy and prayers his way and ask everybody who's watching this, to do the same. Grant, I love you, brother. Sorry this happened. I know it sucks hearing this. Everything happens for a reason. So there's going to be some beautiful things that comes out of your son's death. It may take a minute for you to realize what those things are, but I'm definitely sending you positive energy and love and prayers your way. And I ask other people to do the same.
Sure. Yep. And this is where we would love to intervene, give some people a glimmer of hope, give them a chance, give them a fighting chance again, because we are living in just such dark times right now, and yet we're surrounded by light. So don't give up.
No, but really come together and start looking at, when you start looking at your fellow brother and sister, your fellow man and woman, look for the things that you have in common. Don't look at the things that you have different.
Sure.
Find what's going to bring you together, because we need to change that mindset.
Yeah.
If we're going to bring people together, a lot of this division has been systematic, and they've been very successful with it. And I know you've mentioned this stuff goes way back, Babylonian times. I've heard the term occult commerce.
Yes.
Occult is hidden. So it's obviously a bunch of hidden information that we're trying to collectively bring back.
Correct.
Light.
You betcha.
Cool. Well, let's see here. Alvin said, Darren and Jody, you need to put a link to your website in the video description of your YouTube channels.
Oh, okay.
Do you do that?
A link?
Yeah, in your video description on your YouTube channel. And I can actually, if you need some help with some things regarding YouTube, I can help you. Tell you some things that will help you with your SEO, your search engine optimization, and what you can do to have like a basic video description that will show up in all the videos, and then you can just add, because all that kind of stuff, like when you put your title, your video description, your keywords, a lot of that helps other people to be able to find the videos. Sure. If you don't do any of that, it's kind of like hoping that somebody will just come across your information.
Needle in a haystack. And thank you. We're very new to this. We're very teachable.
And obviously, nighttime like this, I'm a little bit more free. So if you ever have any questions about any of the stuff that you guys are doing with social media, let me know, because I definitely like to help. And I'm sure that other people that would like to help as well and will reach out to you in regards to that. So you guys
appreciate that for sure, my friend.
No problem, man. We're in this together. That's what I try to tell everybody. We are in this together. And there is no I in team.
Right?
No.
Exactly.
Unless you misspell it, but if you spell it the correct way, there's no I in team. But do you guys have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to leave people with before we wrap up this live stream?
Yeah, you know what? Again, just everybody hang in there. We're doing everything we can to simplify and break this down and bring it in a format that's understandable and comprehensible. So don't feel like you're overwhelmed. Again, like I mentioned in a couple of the other videos there, just because you started 3 days ago, do not think that you are so far behind you'll never get caught up. Nope, because you will actually get the benefit of the best of the best. Whereas, the stuff that I was punching out 3 months ago is not as substantial as the stuff I punched out this morning. So just in the evolutionary chain of events here, the newbies or the newcomers coming in, they are actually embraced and they are standing on the strongest footing imaginable. So, just
standing on the shoulder of giants.
There you go.
There's been so many people that put forth this information. Now it's like between trial and error and learning from mistakes. Progress is actually being made. So it's a beautiful thing to witness.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you can bear with me 1 minute, I want to end the live stream and then talk with you guys for 1 second. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I definitely encourage you to subscribe. Make sure you're following me on Odyssey. I encourage everyone to check out my Patreon channel. I have information down below for PayPal and Cash App and crypto addresses if you'd like to tip and contribute. That trip with Kim Gogan is going to be next week. I'll be with her next Tuesday and next Wednesday, so everybody's aware of that. I'll make a video talking about that sometime this week. I'm also going to have Cal Washington from Empower on the show, as well as Alphonse Fagiolo. I hope I'm saying his name correctly, but I'm going to have both of them on, and I'm going to invite them to the table as well. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody for watching. I'm going to go ahead and throw up the thumbnail, because this is how I like to end the videos.
Awesome.
I do encourage people that if you're looking to take advantage of some precious metals, and you're looking to hedge against the inflation that's going to be coming, take advantage of my deal that I have going on with Money Metals Exchange. Go to moneymetals.com, be a first-time buyer, purchase $100 or more, use the promo code RICE. You get a free half ounce of silver, and it's a way to support the channel. And as always, I encourage everyone to be the change by practicing change. Much love.